Well, first of all, congratulations to everyone that's still awake and not exhausted by the process. This is the graveyard shift, but hopefully, like me, you'll find this scintillating and rewarding. My name's Nigel Barker, and I have the privilege of being the Executive Director for Cystic Fibrosis in Western Australia. It's also a privilege to be able to introduce to you the team that's been responsible for pulling together the CF Smart National Education Programme. Firstly, just sitting one in from the end here, we have Natalie Amos. And Natalie has worked at CFWA as our Education Officer for 5.5 years, during which time she's been responsible for developing a range of resources, including a magazine specifically for children, which, amongst other things, describes how to make mock mucus and understand your poo. Increasingly, Natalie's work has been adopted by other CF associations and indeed led to a sharing of resources across the Federation. Her professional career as a primary school teacher led to the development of a concept for a national CF education programme, which is the subject of today's presentation. Our second speaker on my right here is Monica Lay from CF Victoria, who, after completing her studies in genetic counselling, has taken on the role of team coordinator, providing and attending programmes and support services for parents and siblings. Monica also attends regional clinics and hospitals and has been intimately involved in the design and the development of the CF education programme. Our third speaker is Kylie, on the end there, and Kylie is an ambassador for CF Victoria, who, like Natalie, qualified as a primary school teacher, but somewhat unlike Natalie, received a double lung transplant, and as she says, gave her a new lease or a new chance at life. Our fourth speaker is Jeanette Hayward, and Jeanette is a genetic counsellor who lives with CF and has a very personal interest in the success of a national CF education programme, having coped with all the challenges of, as she says, surviving high school and managing her CF at the same time. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the team.
Thank you, Nigel, and thank you to CF New Zealand and CF Australia for having us here today. I just wanted to know, if you could raise your hand, how many people in the room are from New Zealand, just out of interest? Yep, good. And how many people are from Australia? All right, about 50-50. Okay, so this program is initially being designed for Australia, but we're hoping that in time to come that CF New Zealand would like to take it on board as well. So we'll see how we go. And I'd like to also thank Novartis and Pharmaxis, because those two companies have been the first companies to assist us with some funding so we can get things off the ground. I've got to press this forward. I'm just going to start with a quote by Nelson Mandela. I guess myself and Kylie, being teachers, we have a very strong belief in education, and the other girls that are involved in the program are also very strong believers in education. And in our case, it's cystic fibrosis education, so not just education at school. So to us, we believe that education is the most powerful weapon we can use to change the world. So we believe the more educated people are in the community about cystic fibrosis, hopefully that will make life a bit easier for the people who live with cystic fibrosis, as well as their parents and their family. So Nigel's already introduced most of the team, and I'm just going to tell you about another person that's involved in the team. And we'll talk about how the program began. We'll talk about what is CF Smart. We'll talk about a survey that we've done with parents and teachers, and we'll talk about some challenges we've faced and also our timeline for when we plan to get things completed. So as well as myself and the girls that are here, we have Sue Goodwins, who is from South Australia, and she is a clinical practice consultant, and she's actually in the audience today, just there. And Sue's also been involved to help us with our program. And we've luckily got a staff member, Paula, at CFWA, who is helping us write some more grants, because grant writing is the main thing you need to do to get these things off the ground. And we also have parents and teachers and CF health professionals from around Australia. Some of them don't actually know they're going to be asked to help us, and also the CEOs from around Australia have also contributed in an advisory capacity. We are still looking for parents and teachers to be involved, so if you're someone that might be interested, then you're welcome to speak to us at the end of the session today. So basically, how we decided that perhaps we should look at doing a national education program for CF is that about this time last year, we had a national Australian services and CEO meeting, and during that meeting, we talked about the fact that each state has completely different resources for schools, and some have an education officer and most states don't. Some states might have a nurse working from the clinic who goes out to the schools, and some states have very little at all. So we felt that CF, it's different for an individual person how they're affected, but really it doesn't matter what state you're in, you're still going to go through the same things in school and in childcare and places like that. So we felt that we should really consolidate the resources and make sure they're all saying the same thing. They're all comprehensive, and they're all available to everybody equally, no matter where they live in Australia and New Zealand, if you guys come on board. We also, at this point, our website, it's not necessarily up to scratch with, other websites around the world, such as the CF UK Trust, where you can find a lot of information, and we believe that we need to improve what's on our CF Australian website to make sure if parents or teachers want to quickly find some information, they're going to find it, and it's going to be of a high standard and easily accessible. So basically how we started was that after the meeting, my CEO Nigel said that I could make a start, and if other states, if there was anyone available and they wanted to come on board and assist with coming up with the program, then that was great. So fortunately we had a very enthusiastic staff member from CF New South Wales, and he was very interested to be involved. So he and I did a bit of brainstorming to think about things. Then very soon after that, Monica from Victoria came on board, and then we also had Jeanette came on board very soon after that, and Sue Goodwins from South Australia. So the people in the orange, they are volunteers, so they're working on this program and they're not being paid for it. Then Kylie from CFV came on board in a voluntary capacity, and we had a staff member from CFQ. We had a staff member from CF South Australia, and at this point we presented to some parents in CFQ to see what they thought about the program we were working on. Then Benji from New South Wales, who was on board with the program at the time, had the great idea that we should ask CF New Zealand if they would like to be on board as well, because we thought that they would have similar needs to what people in Australia have. And yes, CF New Zealand were interested, but the capacity to be involved was very limited. So they remain interested, but waiting to see what we come up with. So then what happened, we lost 3 staff members from each respective CF organisation that they worked at. They went on to different areas of employment. So that meant basically who's working on the project now is myself, Monica, and the girls you see before you. So that's just the nature of what can happen with working on projects of this nature that are national. But through all the different people coming on board and people going, we developed a CF Smart structure for what type of resources we thought we should develop for people. And we based our ideas on looking at what's already out there at each state and also in other countries. There's some great resources already available, and we wanted to have a look at all of them and see what things could we add or basically steal from what's already out there. And we also looked at other CF education other education programs from other organisations such as the Asthma Foundation, or even things like the Water Corporation have really good school education programs. And we also based some of our ideas on our own knowledge of what we've heard parents say, what we've heard teachers say, and just our experience of working in schools. So this is what we came up with. And it does look a bit daunting, but it basically shows that the program involves making resources for teachers, parents, students in the class, and also high school students who have CF, and tying it in with a CF Smart accreditation program, which Monica will talk to you about in a minute. And basically the resources are tailored to particular age groups of children, and also for parents when their child is at a particular age. And we'll talk a bit more about what all these resources are. So we came up with the structure, we came up with the idea, then we thought we perhaps should really check in with what people are thinking out there in the CF community in Australia. So we developed a survey and we posted that out on each of the states' Facebook pages, and that was actually just recently in July and August. So we got 201 parents responded nationally, which was not a bad result, and 64 teachers, which was okay because teachers are extremely busy. So I was hoping for about 50 teachers, so I was happy to get 64. And we haven't finished analysing the results. We've only just looked at the main details. There was a lot of different comments and very important things that people were saying, so we're going to need to look at them a lot more closely. But the results, luckily, mainly backed up what we were thinking to start with, and make us more determined to continue on with what we're doing. So this just shows what states responded and how many people. So Victoria was very enthusiastic to respond. But yeah, everyone from most of the states responded, except Northern Territory only has a couple of people. And then we asked the teachers as well what state they were from, and again, enthusiastic from Victoria. And so we asked the main question, do you believe there's a need for additional education resources to assist teachers in learning about CF? And 85% agreed or strongly agreed that yes, we do need some more resources. And then the teachers thought they either agreed or strongly agreed that 75% of them said yes, they would like more resources. Then we asked the parents what sort of challenges are they facing in the school or the daycare or the childcare setting. And interestingly, because today listening to parents talk, parents were mainly talking about their child having issues with their enzymes at school, but 76.4% agreed or strongly agreed that they were having issues with infection control, so issues with other children coming to school sick with colds and things like that. But then coming down the scale, it was management of medication and the child's physical health being affected while at school. The teachers didn't seem to have a strong belief that there were as many issues, although the comments, the teachers did mention different issues, mainly to do with high school, But yeah, their main issue was accessing information. But in the comments, some teachers did say about assisting the child with catching up with schoolwork if they missed schoolwork. Some of them weren't sure that they wanted to bombard the child or the parent with extra burden if they knew that that child was already going through a lot while they were in hospital. So then we asked, well, what kind of resources would be most useful, just to check that we were on the right track with what we were thinking. And quite obviously, most people said they would like downloadable information from the website. And then close to that, parents said they would like information packs, which, I mean, a lot of people can access that already as is. And then parents said they would like a CF educator. They agree with having a CF educator and a DVD. Teachers are relatively similar. They agreed with downloadable information from the website, a DVD and information packs. So there were many comments, and some of them were very positive about what is already available. They were very positive about their teachers going to CF clinics. I mean, they're going to the CF education sessions that the clinics around Australia offer. But there were also some comments that have made us think we really do need to look at what these parents are saying that their child's going through, particularly things like if schools are saying, like the comment below, they were told the child couldn't go to the school because they couldn't accommodate any more children with extra needs, and so the family have to travel even further away. And things like clinics are providing excellent information, but they don't feel the school's taking it on board. And things like the child looks so well, so the teacher's not really believing that things need to be done to look after the child. But then lots of parents said they didn't want to make a big deal about their child in the school. They don't want, I guess, a bombardment of information so that the child feels different. So that's something we need to be very mindful of in what we do with this program. Teachers also provided us with many comments. The most strongest comment that came through was that they found the parents to be the best resource of information, and most of the teachers were very positive about the relationship they have with the parents, and they felt that that was what helped them learn about looking at making sure the child's needs were catered for. But then they said, yes, they would like information to teach other students in the class about CF. They didn't think there was enough out there. And, you know, there was things like they weren't sure why cross-infection was an issue. So they knew it was an issue, but they didn't know why. So basically, the aim of our program is to provide a unified, comprehensive and user-friendly educational resource package which will raise awareness and educate teachers and students about the impact of CF on a child in a school or childcare environment. And we also want to make sure that the resources we develop back up what parents are saying when they go to school and they have to talk about CF. So we want to make sure they address some of the issues that parents have to try and resolve, and the material will say what parents are saying when they go to school. So we basically, our objectives are to improve the care of the CF student at school and ensure that their medical needs are conveyed clearly to the teaching staff so the child's health isn't compromised, and to have a national, as we said before, a national standard of resources across Australia, hopefully to minimise misunderstanding and confusion that can occur in schools. And as we said before, to make sure it's accessible to everybody. So the main area I'm working on are booklets, and they're broken up into 3 areas, 3 age groups. So, you know, from childcare, from 0 to 6, 7 to 11 and 12 plus. And the reason for that is because those different age groups, children go through different things. So we wanted to keep it focused on the types of things that the child might be going through at that particular age. And cover some extra topics that might not always be covered in the booklets that we've got currently, and make sure they're practical for teachers so they know what to do if the child has a PIC line in, or if the PEG, something happens with their PEG. And things like camps, exercise. Some teachers are worried that this child with CF, they're going to die on them in school. So we want to provide information that answers all those questions. And what we'll do is some parts of the booklets will be just downloadable as their own sections from the website. So someone might not want the whole booklet, they might want just a relevant section depending on what they're doing. And the big thing we want to try and work on is encouraging teachers to pass the information on, because every year parents have to go and speak to the teacher and re-educate a new teacher about CF. So if somehow our program can encourage schools to pass the information on to next year's teacher, they might already have a little bit of background knowledge before the parent comes in and talks to them. And a little tip before, when someone was talking about high school and talking to all those teachers, it's good if you can get in at the start of the year before school starts, if they're having a meeting, and see if perhaps they might let you come in, or ask the CF nurse educator, or if you've got someone available in your state, to come in and talk to all the teachers that are going to be relevant to your child. That can start them off before your child starts high school. Oops. We're also hoping to develop a very short DVD, and I guess a lot of you might have seen the Getting Nosy About CF with Ollie and Nush, which is a very great little resource which explains what CF is. We want our DVD to explain what CF is in school, so that the main audience will actually be teachers, but just so they can download it off YouTube and quickly know the crucial points about dehydration, sport, taking enzymes, all those things in a quick, non-threatening manner. So we figured that animation was a nice way to get some points across. We have actually worked, we've got a production company already thinking about our DVD, and so we have a very, very short animation slide that just shows you what it might look like. Basically, the characters are based on real-life children with CF, a brother and a sister, and they actually live in a little regional town in WA. So they're supposed to be related in this DVD. They're not, so don't worry about cross-infection or anything like that. And the DVD the content isn't going to be what the content is for the one we produce. It's just basically a little example that we are going to use to try and get someone to fund it so we can actually make the proper DVD. So hopefully I'll be able to get it to work. I'll just have to... Oh, there we go. It's about 10 seconds.
So, coming to my school soon?
Uh-huh.
Oh, cool. It's not all bad. And our teachers know about the cystic fibrosis stuff too, so we don't have to explain everything we do.
So as I said, short, but the one we're going to make is going to be a bit longer and detailed than that. But hopefully someone will think that's fabulous and give us lots of money. The next slide, the next area that we really want to work on, and this is where we've enlisted the help of Sue Goodwins, is to look at infection control and cross-infection. We basically, I know just in my experience in my job, there's a lot of confusion with teachers as to what to do to make sure the child doesn't get things like pseudomonas or doesn't get sick. And obviously it's impossible to sort of eradicate all risks, but we want to have really clear and practical guidelines that teachers can understand, and hopefully some way of encouraging schools to be a bit stricter with other children with colds coming to school, and coming to school with gastro and things like that. We're going to make an attempt to come up with some clear guidelines that we feel if they're national and they're consistent in our resources, hopefully that will assist in some way of getting the message across to schools. And now I will hand you over to Kylie, who's going to talk to you about the parts of the program she's working on. So thank you.
Okay, as you can see up here, this part of the program is all about resources for teachers and students. So I've been, as part of this program, I've been developing lessons for primary and secondary teachers and students. And as you can see, we've just got a general idea of up on the screen of what sort of lessons we're going to plan for each sort of age group. You've got your junior primary, your middle primary, you've got your upper primary, and you've got your lower secondary or your junior secondary or high school students. So as you can see, we've tried to cover what is CF in each of the different areas, and I've tried to cover quite a few different topics as well within CF. So germs and hand washing is a major one in the junior school. All the kids come with their grotty hands and germy hands, so it's always good to teach the kids about germs and proper hand washing techniques. So I think that's important in any classroom. And then I've sort of carried it, the same sort of themes through into the grade 1-2 sort of areas. And then I've started introducing about food, digestion, that sort of area. And then the airways and making mock mucus. So a lot of these activities are quite interactive, hands-on. That's what kids like, so that's what we've tried to make them. And then as you get up into the junior secondary school, tried to look more at like genes and how people get CF or how it's inherited, and then a bit about nutrition as well and the chances of having CF and receiving CF, so inheriting CF. So as you can see, those lessons are quite a range of different topics there, but we're looking at extending them a bit more. So that's just to give you a basic overview of what the lessons and activities will be for the teachers. These lessons aren't designed solely just for classrooms that have a CF student. They're more designed for any classroom. So to link in with things like your fundraising activities like Crazy Hair Day. So any school that's doing Crazy Hair Day can pick up these lessons and can do them as a one-off lesson. So they might only pick to do one lesson, and they don't have to be done in order, or they can be done as a unit. So a teacher could just say, right, I want to do hand washing. So she might just pick hand washing. And if there's a CF child in the actual classroom, the teachers need to get permission of the child and also the parents to make sure that they're comfortable so they can teach these lessons, because I know some people don't like the message to be put out there about their CF and privacy issues and all that sort of thing. So it's really important that when this program does go out, that the teachers know that they need to basically ask for permission to do these lessons or talk about it in their classrooms. As you can see, this is just one of the resources for our lessons that we've developed. So this goes with the early junior school primary lessons. So this is a hand washing poster we've developed. And this poster will be we're hoping to be put up in schools or primary schools that come on with the program. And basically every single classroom, because every single classroom needs to be taught about good hand washing techniques and, hygiene. So we're hoping that they'll really like this poster, and it'll encourage the kids every time they look at it to wash their hands and, stop spreading that infection and all the germs. Okay, and the other area that I'm developing at the moment is brochures for students. So as you can see up there is just a little sort of snapshot of something that we might develop, but that's actually WA's one, Western Australia's one at the moment. So we're looking to make ours a bit more child-friendly, a bit easier to understand, and I suppose more pictures in there as well for the children. So we've got one for 6 to 8-year-olds or 6 to 9-year-olds, and then your 10 to 12-year-olds. So the two different categories there, and obviously different types of information on both for the children. So we're hoping that with these resources, it'll make it a bit easier for teachers to want to actually talk about cystic fibrosis or teach the students, and hopefully the children and even the teenagers will understand what cystic fibrosis is a bit better and not have so many questions to bombard that student in the classroom or, teachers. So we're hoping that all these resources will really help in the classroom. But as we said earlier, Natalie said earlier, that they're not just for the classroom, they're for anyone that wants to educate their kids at home or show brothers and sisters. So a really good resource. And I'm going to pass over to Monica now, and she's going to speak about resources for parents.
So as we're developing a lot of stuff for teachers, we want to make sure that parents are also given some resources that you can use to help you. And some of the stuff we've thought up is just based on some feedback we've received from you guys. So the first one is just a pretty simple, it's a bookmark, and it has some common foods on there, and then with how many crayons you need, so you can write that down, and just on the back it's blank, so you can write down the common foods that they might have, whether it's chips or a muesli bar, and just how many crayons they need to take with that. Another one is a letter to other parents. So I've heard some of you comment about, the other parents not understanding about cystic fibrosis and bringing their kids who have colds or gastro to school and your kid getting sick. So this letter, depending if you're comfortable, is to help you explain to the other parents in your classroom about cystic fibrosis, and that they understand that, good hand hygiene and washing their hands is really important before they eat and after the toilet, as well as making sure that they stay away if they've got colds or flus or gastro. So another one's kind of like a fact sheet or tips that other parents have developed. I mean, you guys are a wealth of knowledge, and working with a lot of the families in Victoria, there's so many tips, and I do call on many of my parents to say, what did you do about, when you were going to kindergarten or looking for childcare, what were some of the things that you were looking for? So I think it's really important that we have resources that have been done by other parents and other useful things that other parents have found. Another thing is a checklist, just in terms of if you're going to talk to the school or kindy or, your homeroom teacher if it's high school, just about certain things you have to do. So the checklist won't necessarily cover everything that you need to talk to them about, or it might be a bit too much, but it just gives you a prompt of when you go in there to just say, these are some of the things that you need to be aware of about my child and going to school. Another thing is kind of a care plan. I know South Australian government have a very good one out there, and we wanted to kind of adapt one and have a national one, because not all the states have it. I know Victoria doesn't, and I've been kindly borrowing from South Australia. But I think it'd be really good if we did have a national one, so the school understands what concerns or what is important for your child. The other thing I've been working on is the CS Smart School accreditation. So this is an idea that we would like to work on, and it's kind of really bringing everything that, Natalie and Kylie have been talking about, So the aim is to educate schools, and this is not just the school that has a CF child. So we really want to promote awareness and make other schools aware. I'm not sure about you guys in New Zealand, but I know in Australia many people did the MS Readathon when they were at school, and that was something I remember to this day, and I've heard of MS and I'm aware of what it is, maybe not entirely how it works, but I think it's important if we can start as school-age kids that they've heard of CF, that will, you know, raise the profile of CF and also raise that awareness. I think the important thing that we need to be aware of is there is a CF child at that school, we would need to ask their permission, so the family's permission, just so we're not going out there talking all about CF and they're not, they're not happy with it. So I guess the aim is to encourage good infection control and hygiene, and also, promote the school to learn about CF. Some of the stuff that we're looking at to be part, like a CF Smart accredited school, is at least, a teacher attending, or the main teacher for the child attending a professional development either run by the hospital, or having someone from, like a CF nurse or one of the educators from the CF Association come out to talk to the school about the meaning of CF and what the implications are. Incorporating good hand hygiene and infection control in the school, have the CF care plan available to the main teacher. So that might be their grade teacher in primary school, it might be their homeroom teacher or year level coordinator when they get to high school. Also, maybe we're looking at having them participate in fundraising activities. I mean, I know a lot of our schools do Crazy Hair Day, and if they want to get involved in 65 Roses Day or something like that. But in thinking of this, we do want to make it easy, and I think the main point out of this is a lot of the schools that have CF kids are already doing this, and we really want to acknowledge their efforts for being part and going out there and, learning about CF and either doing the fundraiser and participating in that. So we don't want it to be a burden on them. We do want to make it easy for them to access and encourage them to be a part of it, and also encourage other schools around the community to be involved and learn about CF. So now I'm just going to hand over to Jeanette, who's going to talk about resources for high school students.
Well, so far we've heard a little bit about resources for teachers and for parents, and also lesson plans for kids. But we also wanted to create a booklet for people who are in high school, and also for people who are in late high school, and looking a bit beyond that, thinking about TAFE or university, transitioning to an adult clinic. So we felt this was an important age group to target, because surviving high school without CF or without a chronic health condition is a challenge at the best of times. And when you have CF or something else going on in your life on top of that, then it's just that little bit harder. So support is very important, and that support can be from parents, clearly, from teachers, it can be from friends, siblings, it can be from clinics, it can be from people who are in hospitals, such as nurses, or the school in the hospital where a child may be admitted. Support can be a really important key difference that makes high school just that little bit easier. So I'm hoping, and we are hoping, that once this particular resource is sorted out, that it'll be quite an overview of the different types of support that's out there, so that people know what's available. And then people can sort of pick and choose the different supports that make sense to them in their particular circumstance. Another really important reason to target this group is that in high school, parents are clearly starting to back off a little bit in terms of day-to-day care, and kids are starting to pick up a little bit. And this theme has certainly been spoken about today, so it is a really important theme that everyone is aware of. So we need a resource that's going to speak directly to the high school kids, teenagers, people, probably shouldn't call them kids, in a language that they can understand. So we don't want to be too adult and we don't want to be too kiddie. We've got to get that nice balance. And it needs to address things that they want to know about and perhaps things that they need to know about, that they may not have thought of, that they can sort of go, oh yeah, maybe that would be helpful, or oh, I hadn't thought of that, maybe I can give that a go. As I mentioned briefly, we also want to be looking forward from high school, because certainly in year 10, 11 and 12, people are choosing subjects that they enjoy, that they're good at, that are going to get them into the further study or the career that they want to pursue. And so they need a bit of a framework and a way forward of how to get from high school into that with CF. So we're going to have a little bit of a section on how to get through your HSC or your Year 12 exams, whatever they're called in the different states and in New Zealand. And then also how to access supports when you enter TAFE or when you enter first year uni. And I would also like there to be a big section about transition. As we've already said today, there's no right and there's no wrong about transition. There's no ideal time or ideal way, but perhaps some tips and some traps and some experience from people who've been there and who've done that can suggest some things for people to at least give a go and see if it works for them. So you'll see up on the screen that there's a few little areas that will be included in the booklet. There is going to be an overview of CF. Obviously, people who have CF know what CF is, but not everyone experiences all of the symptoms that you can have with CF. So some people may have liver problems, some people may have sinus issues, some people may have diabetes, some people might have osteoporosis, etc. So we just want to give a little bit of an overview so that as people learn of other people with CF who've got certain symptoms, or if they develop different health problems as they go along, they're not really caught unawares. They know that this could happen and they've got a bit of a vague idea about it. I have so far consulted with 2 other adults in New South Wales about this. So one of these adults actually works in disability services at the University of Western Sydney. And so she has been very helpful in giving me some ideas about what high schools and TAFEs and universities actually have to provide for students who have special needs, whatever they may be. I've also had a chat to one of my friends who is a clinical psychologist. Both of these people have CF, I'm not sure if I said that earlier. So she's given me a bit of help with the smoking, bullying, drinking, gossiping side of things, since she's a bit more savvy about that than me. And I would like to be able to consult with other people who have CF, or indeed anybody who might have a little bit of experience in this kind of area. And hopefully I will be able to provide some real-life quotes, tips, traps from people around Australia and in New Zealand who've been there and who've done that, who've actually made it through high school in one piece. So it's certainly a work in progress, as is the whole of this program, but we're getting there. And hopefully once we get there fully, it'll be helpful to everybody. I'm failing at that. I'll let someone else go forward.
So in kind of finishing up, just wanted to explain some of the challenges that we have gone through when we're trying to do this project. So a big one for us has been the limited funding, and we've found it quite tricky to secure funding for whatever reason. And we are really thankful for Novartis and Farm Access for helping us get us this far. But it means that we're kind of at a standstill on some of the stuff we would like to do, because we can only get it so far without funding. as Nat explained earlier, we did lose some key staff members who were working on the project. That meant that Nat and I kind of had to take on a lot of it, and between our workload that was quite tricky, so that has caused a bit of a delay in some of the stuff that we were hoping to get ready. It is a first national services project that we are developing, so we've kind of been the guinea pigs in how do each of our states work together, and how do we pilot a program, and who does what, and what's the agreement on staffing hours and stuff like that. So going from that, we've worked out that we've developed a project plan that going forward that we will be using, and there's going to be kind of more of a policy and a procedure on how each of our states work together, and what our agreement is in terms of staffing hours and how much time is dedicated to national projects. So our timeline has changed since we first started. We were really hopeful and maybe a little bit naive in terms of what we could get done in a year. But part of the funding and part of losing staff is, especially Nat and I have sat down and said what is realistic and what is really necessary going forward for us to get ready. So our key, I guess, is to get the booklets that Nat's working on ready for the 2014 school year. So if we can't get them available printed to everyone, we would like to have them online. And then as well as getting some of the other stuff like the parent resources and stuff like that ready for the school year. And then going forward, we're going to look at what the other key factors are, what is really needed and what's really important to help you guys get the teachers informed and the school informed about CF. Some of you have probably seen our Facebook. We've got a CF Smart Facebook, which we try to update each day about, some of the things we're doing or some great ideas, and Nat's done a fantastic job in posting. So if you're interested in terms of following us and learning a bit more about the project, please like our Facebook page. So if you've got any... Oh, yes, sorry. Those bookmarks that I spoke about earlier, we do have some sample ones available, so if you do want some, please come see us afterwards and you can take them home. But in saying that, I guess we're really keen on getting feedback from you guys, and if you've got any questions.
Well, thank you very much, Natalie, Monica, Jeanette and Kylie, and Sue down at the front there, for all your hard work. There is an opportunity through Facebook to actually have some input, so if you have any bright ideas about how we might improve the programme, then if they don't come to you until you've left the room, which is usually what happens to me, there is still an avenue to provide that feedback as parents of children with CF attending school. Also, the presentations, not only this presentation, but all the presentations will be available through YouTube, and the organisers of the conference will be sending out a link to that so that you can actually go back and look at specific presentations that you've received during the course of the conference. So we have got time for a couple of questions. Are there any questions in the room? Everyone's been stunned into silence. Yes. Sorry. Do we have someone to... All right.
I'd just like to ask whether there is anything that could be passed on to schools through the CF organisations about actually informing or the parents of children that have got CF of other students in the school. My son was in his second year at high school, and I just one day had a thought, I wonder if there's anybody else at the school, and there turned out there was in the same grade in a different class that I wasn't aware of. And since then I have met the mother of that child, she's met me, and the children are aware of each other. But the school had not let us know.
Who would like to answer that?
Unfortunately, due to confidentiality issues, we can't disclose to families in a school whether or not there is another child attending a school. I can't talk for other services, but in South Australia I'm often aware of what school every single one of my children is going to. And in fact, I had an incident where I had 3 siblings with CF in a school already, and another family had enrolled into that school. My advice to the family was to actually enrol into another school. That becomes problematic with regional zoning for what school you have to go to, so it then meant that I had to go to the school and meet with the school and explain to them why the child couldn't go there and allow for regional zoning. With confidentiality, we can't get involved unless we have the permission or approval of the parents, and that will completely stand, and I'm pretty sure all healthcare professionals would be the same in that idea. Unfortunately, with cross-infection protocols within organisations as well, many of our families don't actually know who else has CF, and that does become a problem. All we can do is encourage families who do nominate to us that they want to tell the school about the child with CF, that the schools are aware of cross-infection as a basis for all children within the school. We're sort of coming up with some guidelines with regards to cross-infection around, especially things like rural school. I've got a school where there's a rural school, it's only a very tiny school, 2 children with CF from different families live in that town. So what are we going to do, tell someone to drive 150 kilometres? We're not going to. So it's about providing support, useful information that they can use to then how to manage those children in that school.
Thank you. We have a question at the back.
It's probably no good for you because I'm a New Zealander, but like I know with in Blenheim, there are sections of Blenheim that you can only send your kids to that particular school, so you can't go and send them elsewhere unless, like the lady up the front there said, that you get special written that. But because it's not in the best interests for that school to send or to get a kid from outside their zone to come in because they don't get funding for that kid. So I don't know if it's the same in Australia.
Sorry, can you use the microphone?
Would you like to? I think it's different. I mean, it does vary from school to school and state to state.
In Queensland, we get funded for bums on seats. So it doesn't matter which area you're from, and you do get special consideration. So if you have a medical reason for your child needing to attend another site, then that's one of the first reasons that you're allowed to move to a different place. But in Australia, we don't have the issue with funding, I suppose. The Education Act says education for all, regardless of what their needs are, so they shouldn't actually be able to knock you back, and especially given that your child has a disability, it wouldn't be looked on upon favourably, I suppose. My other comment, I suppose, is that we have an issue that I've become aware of where a teacher at the school actually has cystic fibrosis, which is awesome, and yay to them, but they don't have to disclose that they have CF, which of course means that they can come in contact with other children who have CF. So I learnt of this through befriending that person, not knowing that they had CF, and we got talking. Their symptoms were very mild, and so I wasn't, your CF radar's out there. You think you know everybody who has CF. I actually didn't know that, wasn't able to recognise it in that person. I had a conversation with our principal and just said that I was aware that there were people on staff who did have CF, and it wasn't my right or obligation to disclose that information to them, who they actually were, but that if I came to the principal and said that I didn't want my child in that teacher's class, that she would need to respect that decision. She has said that she has. She's had experience, her husband has cancer, so she has experience with immunosuppression, I suppose, and so knew of cross-infection. But I think you're right in saying, in educating people about cross-infection and why it's so important. If they have that information, it's very difficult to say no, or I'm sorry, we're not going to provide that.
Well, thank you very much. Time for one last question. You had your hand up pretty quick there.
I was just wondering, in regards to your rollout of the program, and apologies if I've missed that, how are you going to be targeting schools? Is it initially going to be schools that you know that have got children with CF in there, or are you kind of just going right all schools? How are you kind of planning on doing that as a rollout, or are you not there yet?
I think you might need the microphone. Yeah.
Brilliant question. We haven't necessarily nutted it all out, but we're not going to just post, because some parents, they might not have disclosed to the school that the child has CF, so I don't think legally we can just randomly post them out. But what we're going to do is promote that the resources are available in teacher publications. I think I would assume each state has a teacher magazine, and we're going to promote it to our members, nationwide. So, but I don't think we can just post packs out across Australia to the schools where there are children with CF, because we definitely need permission from the parent. So we'll just heavily publicise that the resources are available and get people to look on the website as well.